All right, guys. So we have now made it to interview 3 on camera. I'm very excited about this because I've just been doing audio podcasts for the last 4 years. And so, Whitney, I am so glad to have you. Welcome to the Reminder Remedy.
I'm so glad to be on here. I'm ready to chat all the things with you.
Yes. So I was very, very intrigued by all of the things that you have going on. I think that we are in a unique time where, especially women, have the opportunity to really design a life that they love. One of the things that I personally like to focus on with my coaching clients is really thinking about when you wake up, what is it that you want to do? How do you want to feel? How do you want to dress? You know, who are the people that you want to be around? And if that is not what's being reflected in your current life, let's think about how we can start transitioning you into a new one. And so I know that you are a serial entrepreneur. You have a ton of social media and digital presence and background, but I would just kind of love to hear your journey and kind of how did you start designing this life that just on the outside looks so cool?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, absolutely. So I actually come from a family of entrepreneurs. I was raised by a single dad, and kind of growing up, he had really set this precedence of really wanting to live a life that was fun or that was energized or that you wanted to live. So
Mhm.
we've had this family business for like the last 75 years, and it's been really cool seeing him like work inside the business. So when I was in college, I really got a taste of another fun company to work for, which was Red Bull.
Mm.
And I fell in love with the digital space. And right at that time, Facebook was like booming, Instagram was like new to the landscape.
Mhm.
Twitter was, having its full moment. And so I really got my hands wet or my feet wet with social media during that time, because with Red Bull, we were doing all these activations, and all of a sudden it was kind of like one day they're like, hey, like, let's start posting this stuff to Facebook, or like, let's start tagging this athlete like in our post and like showcasing it. So that was really fun, super high energy, really cool. I mean, there was no limits with Red Bull. There was no ceiling. It was just kind of like you get to take on this world and have as much fun and as much as you want, which I
Mhm.
loved. That was kind of this energy I just kind of kept rolling with. So as I went throughout college, I got into hospitality, and I was working in hospitality one day, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm running 15 properties in the digital space. Not really my jam. I'm looking for something a little bit more sexy, a little bit more fun. And also too, like, I think I could do this on my own. So
Mhm.
I launched Eckis Marketing hard and fast, really didn't know what I was doing. I was 22, and I've been running it for the last 4 years.
Okay.
And now I'm moving into a new product based business, which is Get Super. It's a hemp infused instant coffee, but we're really moving in the direction of actually becoming an instant wellness beverage brand where
Mhm.
we just want to make everyone's day a little bit more super.
Mhm.
So getting back to like, how did I want to create a life that I felt like this was worth living and this was, what I wanted to do? I really wanted to be able to have the freedom. And I'm huge on freedom. I'm huge on my own schedule. I'm huge on really being in control of what I make, how I live my life, what my day to day looks like. And after working, from Red Bull into hospitality and really getting a taste of like higher end corporate jobs, I figured out very quickly that this was not for me.
Mhm.
And even going back to like my dad's story, like I wanted that freedom. And I also wanted the passion that comes behind it, because I know with any business, it's not all freedom, taking off whenever you can. Like you have so many more responsibilities than you ever imagined. And
Mhm.
I was just talking with a girlfriend, and she mentioned, I gave up my 9 to 5 to work 24/7.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how it feels. But there's something in your own business and your own passion and doing what you want to do that drives this like light and this energy that you have fun, or it's fulfilling your dreams. And there's something about this business that's really filling you up. And so that for me that's what I've always wanted to do. And being a serial entrepreneur, I've dabbled in multiple businesses. I'm part owner, invested in quite a few. And that's something that I love, is all these different opportunities that all these different industries and brands and products and services bring me, and the opportunity to connect with more people and, learn from them and learn how they're living their life and how I can better mine ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that sounds so cool. Like, I mean, I think that, so if I did my math right, are you 26?
27.
27. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're about 10 years apart, and not to make age a thing, but I had a conversation. I don't think the episode has come out yet, but I was talking to a young lady who, me and her are probably around the same age. And we talked about the lay of the land in the sense of 2008, 2009, which was like right when Instagram was starting to become popular, is right when like nobody was even using Instagram to share pictures. It was like, yeah, use this app if you want to get like that vintage filter look on your picture. And you would just like share the pictures on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Instagram was the filter service. But I like to look at this timeline because I also think that it becomes very relevant in terms of the generational shifts that happen, especially around the workplace and what we think about in terms of how we work. Sure. So I come from a banking background, started in investment banking. And when I think about it, that was also part of the time, right? Like that was when banking was like the sexiest career. This is before tech became like the it girl in town. But then 2008 was when the markets crashed, right? So it was like everything that we saw as like the pinnacle of success all of a sudden was like, oh, we don't trust big banks, don't go and work for them. It was this sleazy thing. And then that is when you started seeing either people shift to entrepreneurship because there were no jobs, or there were a lot of us who were raised by baby boomers who were kind of like, listen, go get you a good corporate job, put your head down, work hard. And then when we got there, we were like, this is stupid as hell. I'm getting ready. So 2008, 2009, we saw a mass exodus of millennials starting to make money online, make money through internet marketing or just whatever it was. A lot of us saw that even transpire through social media. So it looks like, we kind of saw this happen. There were a few, half of us stayed, and those are all of my friends who are like major, super successful VPs now at companies. And shout out to y'all because I love y'all too. But then there was another half who we've now been 10 years into entrepreneurship. But one of the things that we always talked about was like that next generation, right? So what, are you Gen Z?
Yeah, I'm Gen Z for sure.
So Gen Z was almost like,
no, sorry. I don't know why I said I'm Gen Z. Millennial.
Okay, so you're like the tail end of millennials.
I'm like right on the cusp, but I identify with millennials for sure.
Okay. She's like, don't put me over there. But I think that even what I just heard you say was just a mindset that I think comes across as generations change and we see what we don't want, right? So a lot of us saw, we were turnkey children who were like, listen, my parents had to work all day, all night. So I want to have more freedom. Freedom is our priority. I hear that from a lot of my guests. But then I also see in you this mindset around opportunity is everywhere. Like I want to collaborate. I want to work with multiple people. I see a gap in the market. I want to hop in there. And so I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to have someone like you on here to kind of get an insight into the way that you look at the world, because to you it's probably like, oh yeah, this is just how we do life, but for many people who are right at the beginning, millennial or early 40s, which we have a lot of 50-year-olds too that listen, shout out to my older clients, but we really struggle with thinking a different way. So can you walk me through, like, when you think about starting a business, like what are the things that you look for?
Yeah, I mean, for me, one of the biggest things I think when it goes into marketing is understanding like consumer behavior or
Mm,
understanding like what the need is, right? Or how are we going to satisfy this? How are people going to be happy by this? Or is it going to fulfill their need? So when I look at a business, I try to look at, like you said, like that white space, right? Like, is there any white space? Okay. Now, if we're talking about going into an industry that's maybe severely saturated, how are you going to stand out? Right. And you
mm,
hear a lot of people talking about like niching down. And I would say that like that's probably like the main area of what I do best is really understanding where the product need is. And then also too, what's going to make it stand out.
mhm,
So being in marketing, like one of my kind of expertise is the story behind it. It's putting together the story, it's selling the story, it's curating the story, and then it's giving it the vehicle to move, which is the ads, the social, the influencers, the PR, all that stuff, right?
mhm,
So when I look at a company, like when I look at going to start a company, that's one of the things I look at is like, is this going to fulfill a need? Is there white space, or are we going into a super saturated market and we're going to have to do something that's proprietary or way different than anyone else in order to stand out? And then the third thing is, okay, now how the hell am I going to get this out here? How am I going to make it sexy? How am I going to make these, our consumers want this and make it feel supportive for them,
mhm.
in order to launch. So those are like the top three things like I look for, especially when I am sitting down, or even when it comes to investing, right? And when you sit down with a company and they want you to come on, whether it's sweat equity or your, capital investment or whatever, you want to
Mhm.
sit down and be like, okay, cool. Like, is this something that I'm honestly going to buy? Or is this
Yeah.
something that I know, I can see three people that I know that would be purchasing this right out of the gate. So those are
Mhm.
those are some things I look for.
Yeah, and I think that that's helpful. And even from a practical standpoint, when I think about um, even like people who want to start creating more freedom. So like, okay, I need a product, right? They're like, I'm tired of working. I want to start doing my own thing. I always say, okay, well, what do you need? Like, what do you feel like is
Mhm.
missing from your current routine, or what do you think you have that is kind of like what you're known for that you could make a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that for a lot of us is the first way in. It's kind of like, listen, this was my story. This is what I needed. This was
Yeah.
what was going to make my day run smoother. So I created, what I didn't feel like was missing. But do you think that when thinking about a business, and this is something that I've kind of had to just swallow as a tough pill, it's not necessarily always what you want to create, but more so like what the market wants and kind of
Yeah.
finding like that sweet spot. And so talk to me a little bit about like how do people test what the need is, right? Because I think I have
Mhm.
a lot of listeners who are like, listen, I want to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay, but are there people that want to buy that? Do people want
Mhm.
that right now in this very day and time? So kind of talk to me a little bit about that process.
Sure. Yeah. So testing out that need, right? Like testing out, like, how do we know, what people are going to want to buy or how they're going to react when you launch this product.
Mhm.
So, for example, like we with Get Super, like I'm launching an instant coffee. Instant
Mhm.
coffee is not sexy. No one wants to drink it. Usually the flavor palette is not there. But one of the things that we found out was that when we take our instant coffee, we take this robust, organic, awesome, awesome blend and we put it through the process where it makes it instant coffee. And then we mix it with our water soluble hemp extract. It's healing.
Mhm.
So what we do there is like one of the things, like when I first started Get Super, is I was like, like, are people going to drink this? Like, are people going to like find this interesting or want to buy it? And to be completely honest, like I was our ideal consumer demographic because I was struggling with anxiety. I had
Mhm.
been just diagnosed with severe anxiety disorder and depression.
Mhm.
I was an entrepreneur that deals with a lot of stress, a lot of high pressure stress. And I was in the morning, I was dropping in CBD oil into my coffee. So when I came across Get Super and I, really started to redevelop and reformulate everything, it was serving my need. And when I put it in front of people that shared a need similar to mine, or we're dealing, like my grandpa deals with chronic gut health all the time. Like he's it's been terrible on our family, and he's gone through like cancer and all this stuff. But he has a really hard time with inflammation in his gut. And so we gave him a cup of Get Super in the morning, and the hemp actually helped that pain and that inflammation. So that's a very unique need, right? Like that's a very different need than from what I was going through, but it served a similar consumer. So I think when you're going to test, learn what needs your consumers have, right? Like what's the realistic need? What's the realistic price point? What are they looking for that maybe it's not offered in the market or somewhere that you can serve in? And then begin testing it on friends, family, yourself, like all these different things. And I think the biggest, again, like I keep bringing up Get Super, but I'm so proud of it because it's a product that I genuinely use every day and love.
Yeah.
And for me, being in the marketing space, I feel like I'm very good at storytelling, but when it comes to a product that I'm actually genuinely using every single day, I feel like the consumers come naturally. I feel like that's when your product sells, is because it's already it's serving that need. And now you just need to get it out there in front of people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. And I think that even, as you storytell without storytelling, around your needs and your grandpa's needs, it instantly is like, okay, I have someone like that could need that type of support. So it then becomes, tell me more.
Yeah.
And then it goes from you thinking that the original messaging is one thing to being another, right? Maybe it was just like, oh, get rid of anxiety, but now it's like, oh, actually this is overall wellness because of you testing it in the market and really seeing how it can serve. So I love that example. But with me being a positive psychology practitioner that has a program all about just really leaning into creating a life that supports the whole woman, which really looks like decreasing anxiety, decreasing depression, which when I first started my company was the primary reason why I was like, something's got to give. And it's because when I look to my left and my right, pretty much 90% of my friends were either dealing with anxiety or depression.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so I wanted to provide a service that helped us to really focus on more than just that career domain or that work-life
Sure.
domain, so that we could show up fully. So having, the business experience, but also kind of probably experiencing the side effects of that 24/7 hustle. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you have had to do to really kind of return to overall wellness now that you have a wellness product
Yeah.
coming out and kind of experience that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all kind of like, I be honestly, like my mental health journey really took a turn in like 2020.
Okay.
So 2019 was an awesome year for my agency. We had this big, beautiful office downtown, and, we were trekking, we were scaling, we were projected to do really great numbers in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in 2020 sitting at my desk, and this was around, the conversation of COVID, the conversation of a shutdown. And I remember like my phone just like lighting up with emails from our clients being like, it's, hey, we got to pause. Like, we don't know what to do. Like, we're shutting down the hotel. We're closing the restaurant. Like, just, I'm not kidding. Just like bing, 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 light, 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 light. And I was like, okay, like, no problem. Like, I've been through a lot in business. Like, I can do this. I can pull this together. We'll go fully remote. And it was great. Actually, let me back up. It wasn't great, but I thought it could be great. And
Mm-hmm.
so right immediately after that, we had lost about 75% of our business. So we were pretty bare bones when it came to who we were serving. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of businesses felt that way, if not worse. They lost almost everything. So when that happened, I was really forced to slow down, and there wasn't so much I could do. We had kind of shifted this agency to being remote. We were going after a lot more of e-commerce brands. We were trying to find initiatives to help us grow and to really market ourselves as an agency. But
Mm-hmm.
my mental health just completely fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I started realizing within those moments of slowing down how much I wasn't taking care of myself. Wasn't taking care of my mental health. I wasn't taking care of my physical health. I was so wrapped up in this ambition and drive that it really had just run me into the ground the moment I had slowed down and realized like where I was at in life.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what really kind of kicked off my mental health journey. So in my family, I've had people that struggle with, mental health and also like addiction and anxiety, and there's even been suicide. And so it was something that when I was diagnosed was also a really, really huge reckoning for my life. Because I always had kind of had this conceived notion that I could work through it or I could work myself out of it. And it, like, yes, I could yes, self-love, self-care. I'll take a bath, I'll throw on a face mask, but that wasn't really at all what it was about. It was more about sitting with myself, understanding who I was, understanding my own thought patterns and the way that I chose to think of myself and view my companies and view my life. And that had completely shifted everything that I knew about how to take care of myself. So through this point, I was diagnosed. I had they gave me the option to go ahead and, receive medication. Because there was a history of addiction really close to me in my family. I chose not to, because I had seen someone firsthand just struggle with it, more specifically with antidepressants. And I chose to want to do this in a really raw, holistic form. So I hired a therapist. I was going to her once a week. I also hired.
Had never had therapy.
No, never.
Okay.
And then I hired a life coach to walk me through business and honestly to really help me reprogram my thoughts. I was having very dark thoughts, a lot of anxiety, I was having a lot of lack of control over what I was thinking or what I was going through. And day by day, I mean, I still deal with it. I still fall flat on my face some days, but I walk through it. And I know that I've had to set up a lot of routines and practices and walk through this every single day in order to help myself get better and heal myself. Like, so some of those things are, like I said, therapy, a life coach. I have a very, very close group of girlfriends that are, kind of like this tribe of support where I can go to with, thoughts and thinkings about business and where I'm at in a really, really raw form. And I don't feel judged, or I feel like I could trust them. And then things like, your morning and night routine. Like, I am a crazy human being when it comes to my morning and night routine. I need like 2 hours of like morning time to journal, to meditate, to think. And I want 8 hours of sleep and to take a bath and chill out. And before, I used to think that those things like really didn't matter. What mattered was your hustle. What mattered was your drive and your ambition. But when I realized in 2020 that I had literally not taken any care of myself to the point where I was just crumbling, I needed to change everything. And then I started realizing, like, the more I do take care of my mind and my body, I'm able to show up in such a better way, in such a better light, like for not only for my businesses, but for my friends, for my family, for my partner, for everything.
Wow. What a vulnerable moment. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
The blessing and the curse of 2020 on all of us, and it's so interesting because your 2020 and many people's 2020 was my 2018. And so, years of hustle work. And then one of my closest friends passed away during childbirth. And I started just looking at life differently. And I started thinking like, she doesn't even have an opportunity to be here with her child, but yet I'm missing out on opportunities with my children because I'm working all the time. But I'm saying that I'm working all the time so that I could have more for them. Like, it doesn't make sense. Sure. And so, everything completely shifted for me in the sense of I had to reevaluate values, priorities, boundaries, what I want that to look like, which, eventually birthed into my signature program, which is the program is called Lifecrafting, but it's about, saying, okay, instead of building our life around work with work in the center, how about we build what we do around the things that are most important, right? So it's kind of almost like this river flowing. So when 2020 hit, it was kind of just like home for me without minus COVID. And so in my mind, I was like, oh my God, this is like the one thing that everybody to some degree needed as a collective. And it reminds me a little bit of the shift that occurred with, you know, the introduction of social media and e-commerce. It's kind of like we saw all of these things happening.
Yeah.
But with the increase, I think we've seen the numbers, the research shows that suicides and depression went up with the invention of the iPhone. Like that's statistics. And
Wow.
so,
Yeah.
you know, with that, we deal with a completely new set of things that like our parents just can't teach us because they weren't faced with, you know, someone's feed every day telling you you ain't shit, you know?
Sure. Or even like the comparison mindset, right? Like we see one of our girlfriends that's killing it and we're like, well, shit, like what about me? Like
exactly. It's just
you know,
a different level. And so I think that we had to be our own teachers. And unfortunately, 2020 was the first time that a lot of people had to slow down and listen to their own thoughts. And that is probably, I always say, like, silence is so painful. You know? Like I remember the first time I slowed down when I quit my job in 2016. Was that 26? No, 2013. I quit my job and I was living with my mom. I came back and I'm just sitting in the house. It's so quiet. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the first time I've ever heard my own thoughts in like the last 15 years. Yeah. And it physically hurts. But then the person that came after that was so different. So if you were talking to going through this journey now, right? Starting a new business, compared to some of your previous business ventures, how do you think you're going to approach your journey as a business owner, running Get Super, kind of owning what you're going through on your personal side? Like, how is that going to look different for you this time around?
Yeah. So definitely, you know, there was definitely with like the agency, there was I put a lot of weight on my shoulders to expand and grow so fast and move so fast. And I felt like I had a lot to like prove and live up to. And that was obviously a mindset that I had to work through in my own head, right? Like that was something that was completely like within inside of me. So having worked through a lot of those thoughts and a lot of the imposter syndrome thoughts and a lot of, you know, feeling like a fraud or feeling like I'm not built for this. I look at Get Super and I see, you talked about me seeing like so much opportunity. I do see so much opportunity with Get Super because number one, it feels like I could share a lot more of my story and a lot more of my learnings through creating a lifestyle brand within this wellness product that helps and brings awareness to, you know, what people are going through. And we have like one of our sayings, I have one of our little branded cups right here and it says, I'm having a super day. Like, thanks for asking. And like, that's our mission. Is like, we want to show up for people and we want to make their day a little bit more super, whether it's through joy, whether it's through education, giving them calm, focused energy, allowing them to be able to drink caffeine again, because a lot of people don't like drinking caffeine because of the bodily reaction. You know, it can trigger anxiety, it can trigger you know, the quicken heartbeat, everything like that. So that for me, like when I look at this business in a comparison to Eckis Marketing or any of the other businesses, I see so much opportunity being able to connect directly to my consumer. And a lot of times too, like with the agency, we were building and working on these amazing, incredible brands. And, you know, I was doing it from like afar. I was doing it as, you know, their consultant or their marketing agency. And so now that I actually get this direct relationship that I get to build with them, like I'm so excited. And it feels a lot more connected. It feels a lot more like, you know, a little bit more intimate.
So I am an avid coffee drinker. So when you say people are getting back to caffeine, I'm thinking, who would ever do life without caffeine?
Girl, I am right there with you.
All of my listeners are probably like, oh, okay, now we see why she's on here. Guys, I promise you, I knew that it was coffee, but this coffee is like, as you talk about it, my mouth is like watering because I didn't get to really finish my coffee today because I had So tell me, like, I mean, you're a marketer, so you're probably great at this, but tell me, like, what is the experience with the coffee? Like, what's in it? You
Yeah.
know, can I drink it hot or cold?
Mhm.
Like, is it going to, increase my libido? Is it going to make me want to work out? Is it going to make me be like patient with my kids? Like, what are we working with here?
Yeah. So, okay. So we have our two products. Our first product is our champion product, which is our Get Super Hemp Infused Instant Coffee. It's 100% organic Arabica Colombian instant coffee. So your caffeine benefits are the same, right? You know, it helps digestion. It helps give you a boost of focus and energy. Basically, you know, increases your metabolism. All the benefits of caffeine are right there. Now,
Mhm.
when we blend it with the water soluble hemp extract, we do about 20 milligrams per packet. And what that does is it really,
And hemp and CBD are the same thing, right?
hemp and CBD in similar ways. There can be hemp that's not CBD, and there could be CBD that's not hemp.
Okay. Okay.
So we are classified as a broad spectrum CBD.
Mm.
So there's a couple different spectrums on the line. I won't get into too deep of that because then we'll go fully science. And I'm not sure if we're all ready for that. But basically, we are a broad spectrum CBD, which means that we have the lowest amount of THC in us, but we still have enough THC within the product that it gives you the effects of what you're wanting. So you still feel it. There, and again, I can go into a whole line of controversial topics, but basically the reason why we went into the broad spectrum was because that 0.03% of THC is what really made all the difference for us. And it gives you the, you know, kind of entourage effect without feeling like you just took CBD. It
Mhm.
helps level out the caffeine high and caffeine crash without, you know, not giving you any energy at all or making you feel lethargic.
Mhm.
And it really, honestly, I mean, like I said, like I've taken Get Super when I have period cramps. I've
Mhm.
taken Get Super when I'm hungover, when I've had a headache, if I'm just feeling like sometimes like even like if I'm having like a really anxious day
Mhm.
and I want to have a cup of coffee, but I've already had a full amount of caffeine, I'll
Mhm.
drink a cup of Get Super and it will, you know, I'll be able to level out a little bit, but still be able to sleep at night. You know, I
Mhm.
won't have that caffeine craziness all, you know,
Mhm.
right before bed. So for me, those are the benefits. And I mean, like we said, we've tested instant coffee is really hard to work with, right? Because like if you go to anybody that knows coffee, probably like yourself, you're gonna be like, girl, what's the taste? Like I want to know like the roast, the blend, like I want to know like what is the flavor I'm gonna be getting. And this is something that we're avidly always trying to better. We're constantly trying to find ways of making our instant coffee taste as much not like instant coffee as possible, but
Mhm.
still being able to have it on the go in a stick pack when you need it most. If whether you're traveling, you're going to the office, you're working from home, you just want a little bit of kick of that hemp, but you also want a cup of coffee. So the taste we actually had taste tested by somebody, a really good friend of mine who was just an avid coffee consumer. I
Mhm.
mean, can tell you every different bean in the world, how it's made, how it's supposed to be roasted,
Mhm.
everything. And I'll tell you what, the blend of it is, I think, is pretty damn good. And even for my people that don't love coffee very much, they'll even say that it's pretty good.
Okay. So is there a flavor or is it truly like, does it taste like coffee?
No, it just tastes like normal brew coffee. No
So can
flavor.
people put creamer or sugar in it or?
Yeah, you can definitely put creamer or sugar. So what we do is we have our little stick packs right here. This is our box.
Mhm.
So it comes with 10 stick packs. Okay. And they're measured out to be about for 8 ounces of hot water, right? So if you want to do a little bit more hot water, you go ahead and throw in an extra stick pack, right? If you want to do more something like 16 ounces or even like 12 ounces or anything like that, you can add another stick pack. So this is kind of what they look like. You just tear it open, you add it in hot water, it dissolves, give it a nice stir. If
Mhm.
you wanted an iced coffee, what we do is we basically just tell you to go ahead and put it in some warm water or froth it if it's room temperature water so that it gets all blended and diffused perfectly. And then you just pour it over some ice.
Okay. Okay. So what's the purple pack?
Purple pack.
Oh, it looks purple from here. Is it just
Does it?
all
Is
red?
it the one right here?
Yeah.
No, this is just another one of our boxes. I just have them everywhere.
In the lighting, it looked like red and purple. So when you say our first product, I was
Oh.
like, oh, it's two products back there.
No, this is just one of our mock-up boxes. I don't have any stick packs in here, but this is our signature instant coffee.
Okay.
So I'll tell you why we launched with also just a signature instant coffee without any hemp.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be a instant wellness beverage company, meaning that we want to be accessible to everyone. And some of the products that we're currently in formulation on are for other things besides just energy, or they are incorporating other supplements that don't have caffeine in them. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the ways in which we wanted to do this is we also wanted to launch Get Super's mirror partner without hemp. So we have our instant coffee without hemp. Also looks great on your countertop. It's just your typical organic 100% Arabica Colombian coffee. And then we have our hemp infused instant coffee as well.
Mm-hmm. I love it. We got to really see you go into sales mode.
I know. I've been practicing.
So good. So good. In my former life, I worked in network marketing and we sold coffee. So every time I started talking about coffee, people are like, what are you selling? I'm like, I'm not selling it. I'm just telling y'all.
That's amazing.
That's so funny. But I wanted to kind of hear about like your day in the life because I mean, are you still running the agency?
I am. I'm still running the agency.
So you're running the agency, you're invested in other businesses, you're coming out with a new product, which means you're also doing like R&D. Then you're also on this mental wellness journey. So you're dedicating 2 hours to a morning routine, which I miss those days.
Oh, girl, I need it.
Days. But yeah, I mean, walk us through like, what does that look like? Because I am the person that's always like, hey, tell me what you're doing. Show me how you work. Like I'm all in people's calendars. Like show me your project management tool. Give us the scoop.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got to give credit where credit's due. My team is pretty incredible at Eckis Marketing. That's been something that I've really invested in the last year and a half, is just really working and cultivating a strong team. Because quite honestly, without them, I wouldn't be able to have the bandwidth to do anything with Get Super. So I think that's my first step. My Eckis Marketing is as much of a priority as Get Super.
And I want to spend a little bit of time there. So thanks for bringing it up, because I just hopped off a coaching call. And I was sharing with her how she is at a level where she will not move to this next phase of being a high performer unless she can really learn to cultivate a team.
Yeah.
Not only hire people, but give them the autonomy to feel a part of the bigger vision so they can bring them their best selves. And I think that that's something that we don't talk about enough. We think it's, so far in the distance, I don't get to hire a team until I'm 20 years in business. But for people who want to do multiple things like sleep and eat, we need help, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit before you go on in your day, and then,
Yeah. I mean, you said it right there. It's scalability, right? And, I think too, as entrepreneurs, we have a really hard time trusting anyone with our business. We have a really hard time, thinking and believing that someone's not going to take care of it the way that we would. And to be completely honest, that's also like something that we need to, like, that's a hard pill to swallow for entrepreneurs. No one is going to treat or run your business the way that you do. That's why you are you. That's why you have this business. But if you can teach people, like you said, to, teach them, or not even teach them, if you can find where someone's strong point is and you can put them into something that makes them happy and makes them what they want to be a part of, with or without, even if you're starting out, you don't need to set them up with crazy benefits and give them a full-time ridiculous salary. But if you give them something that they enjoy doing and it gives joy to their life and what they're doing, or it serves them in a way that's going to help better fit their life, then that's great. Now, if you're talking about like moving, like stepping out of your business, I would say you need to treat your people well. You need to pay them well. You need to hook them up, like talk about like what ways you can really get them involved. Because ultimately, the more that they do feel like this is their company, the more that they're going to start turning into that more of a managerial role and really start operating in that way. And that is something too, where when we look at, like you were saying, like she's right here. If we want to get to this point, we have to scale. And in order to scale, it's called investing in others. And we have to take that launch. And it's really scary because quite honestly, like, I'm sure you in business, like there's going to be people that quit. There's going to be people that you have to fire. There's going to be a couple people that you're going to have to figure out who you really work well with. And, if they're a good fit. And that's the really hard part, is especially of being an entrepreneur and raising your own business, is number one, being willing to invest in a person, and also knowing that, they potentially might not be the greatest fit, but you've got to take that step in order to understand not only if they're going to work out, but what you need. And so for me, this year I really invested in it, and it was scary, but quite honestly, it's benefited me tenfold, and it's grown the agency exponentially because now I have these girls that have these roles that know exactly what they're doing, enjoy what they're doing. The clients love them. I mean, half the time I even try to get involved on a client account, I'm like, I'm messing this all up. Like, I need to stay out of it. I need to shut my mouth and let you run the account because you know what you're doing and you're doing it best.
Okay.
And that's, again, from an agency standpoint, that's how it works for us.
Okay. I love that. All right. So what else does your day look like?
Yeah. So right now I got to admit to you, I'm not doing the best at my work-life balance right now, but a normal week usually looks like me spending about 3 days a week on Eckis Marketing and 2 days a week on Get Super.
Okay.
So I'm able to calendar out my days with my team. Mondays and Wednesdays, we usually have our team meetings for 2 hours since we're all remote. We do it on Zoom. And then after that, we have some projects, and everything is based on a due date. So I'm able to really work with my team via these due dates and really step in when they need me based on when things and projects are due for clients. So Mondays and Wednesdays look a lot like that. A lot of Slack messages, a lot of computer time. Tuesdays and Thursdays are usually when I get out of my house. I go fill some boxes. I go fill some product. We're doing all the fulfillment ourselves right now, me and my partner. So that's been really fun and cool.
Oh, y'all have already started selling it.
Oh yeah. Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also too, now, like we're doing something super new because I know sales for an agency, but I've never had to schlep a product anywhere. But we're actually going to start, going out and meeting new people and meeting new partners and collaborating with really cool brands or retail spaces on, having the product in their store. So that's been really cool. Leading up to this though, man, it's like me and my partner Spencer are working like 10-hour days, and it's okay because we've both set a timeline for each other of like, this is when we're going to do this. And we are going to give this our all right now. And right now is our time to grind because we don't want to be doing this, for the next 2 years. We want to do it this year. We want to do it really hard and really focused, and then be able to get back to this boundary and this work-life balance so that we can grow this company in the most best way. But as of right now, yes, because I'm running both businesses, I am in it.
It's a season. And I think that I'm glad that you even said that because, as much as people think like, Alena, you just want everything to be balanced. And I'm like, first of all, I don't even believe in the word balance. Like, just throw it out. I replace it with the term harmony because more importantly, I want you to recognize that there'll never be this balance of like, oh, my kids are super happy, work is perfect, right? It's kind of like this ebb and flow of like, listen, in order for me to do well at work, things have to be going okay at home in order for me, and every season requires a different version of your home life. And as that part of do you have children already? I'm assuming.
No. I have
Okay.
2 dogs. I call them the boys. It's my partner Spencer, my dog Rowdy, my dog Berkeley. So they're all boys.
Okay. So you've got the boys, but the boys need attention too, right?
Yeah,
And so,
sure.
I think that even taking that as an example, I always say, hey, what are the red flags that like things are just going off the Richter with business, so much so that it's
Mhm.
compromising these things where it can't get back, right? Because that's the thing. We
Mhm.
don't want to sacrifice our relationships and our health to the point where if we decide to return, we can't, right? So we
Sure.
want to make sure that we establish some level of red flags and then actions that we can take around. Okay. I know for me, a
Mhm.
red flag that like things are getting crazy, too crazy at home where I haven't been able to focus on work. Easy red flag is I haven't written in my planner for at least 3 days because I'm like a
Mhm.
stickler. So if I haven't, that means, okay, I need to identify what's happening in mom, wife, whatever
Mhm.
life, Alena life that's taking me away from work, because still we got to feed the kids, right? So it's kind
Mhm.
of just like creating that awareness, but then also giving yourself permission during certain seasons. So
Mhm.
like me and my husband, we have 2 of our youngest at home right now, and we could probably put them in daycare, but it's like, no, like this is like, we want to just like really just save as much as possible. He's like, let's just
Yeah.
thug it out, like let's just work with relationships because daycare is like $1 million. He's like, do you
Yeah.
know what we could be doing with this for the business?
Mhm.
And so it's like sometimes you're just in a season where guess what? The babies are in the office with you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love
Totally.
that you shared that because I don't want people to feel like, oh, I'm either going to burn out or I'm going to be like this super Zen master and I have to
Mhm.
choose, because it's just like, no, I can be a Zen master for 6 months out the year, but then another 6 months I could be like totally in work zone, and that may just be my choice. So
Yeah, totally.
I'm really excited that we got to kind of get into kind of the behind the scenes of like a modern woman and a modern businesswoman, because I got to see, some of your ideas, but then just like kind of how you're working, but then the reality of just like what that can feel like when things go left. So if people want to get involved with you in any of your businesses, how can they learn from you or support you right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the best way to contact me is honestly through my Instagram. I'm pretty active on it. So it's just Whitney Eckis. And
Okay.
then if you want to learn more about our agency, it's eckismarketing.com, and Eckis is my last name. And then if you want to find out more about Get Super, we would love you guys to try some. We even sell sample packs for $7.99 where you get to try one of the hemp extract instant coffees and then one of the signature instant coffee packs.
Okay.
You can find that at Get Super, and super spelled SUPR.com.
Okay. Yes, and I will be expecting that in the mail with that cute coffee cup.
Oh yeah, girl.
I'm like, okay, I see a little 0.3% of hemp in my kids are gonna be like, what's going on, mommy? Don't worry about it.
She's so happy.
I love it. Well, congrats on all of your success and surviving 2020. That's just a blessing in itself.
Yeah.
And we look forward to kind of watching your journey and trying your products. And we just really appreciate you coming on here and dropping some of your gems.